Okay, everybody seated? Okay, we're expecting some more people. So, welcome everybody. Welcome to this afternoon's important event in celebration and observance of the World AIDS Day. Ambassador Goldberg, President Vice Mayor Belmonte, President both teachers and faculties from NGOs, civil society, HIV/AIDS advocates. Welcome and good afternoon to everyone. We are very honored and happy to observe World Day today with Ambassador Goldberg and Vice Mayor, the rest of the world today in paying tribute to the many people of the world who have died, the people still living with HIV/AIDS, the people who care for them, their families, and medical professionals and scientists who continue to work hard to find solutions to this global pandemic. Sadly, despite the numerous efforts to raise awareness and educate the public on this issue, incidents of infection, discrimination, and stigma still continue. It is with this reality in mind that we are all reminded that in order to reduce and eventually eliminate this pandemic, we need not only scientific solutions, but we need more involvement of all sectors, particularly the youth. We have all of them today, who are one of the most vulnerable sectors to this pandemic. We also need more determination, more education, more compassion and tolerance to embrace this struggle as our own so that we can look forward to an HIV/AIDS-free future. So without much ado, I'd like to introduce our president, Dr. Rosario Lapus. She earned her degree in education at the University of the Philippines and holds 2 master's degree in education from Boston College, where Ambassador comes from Boston, and gerontology from the University of Massachusetts. She has done graduate work at the Harvard Graduate School of Education, and she is a cum laude graduate of Foreign Service. She has been connected with the school since way back. She was college then, she was vice president when I was college dean. So she is currently the president of Miriam College and is the chairperson of the Consortium of Women's Colleges in the Philippines. She was recently elected as the chairperson of Catholic Educational Association of the Philippines, one of the biggest consortium of Catholic schools in the Philippines. So I think we have been chosen to co-sponsor this afternoon's affair precisely because we are a Catholic school and we have a special role to play to embrace this particular cause for the rights of HIV/AIDS sufferers. So without much ado, can we call on President Lapus to do the welcome remarks.
Thank you, Oyi. You missed out on one important thing. I'm a proud alumna of Miriam College. So a warm welcome to our guests, led by His Excellency Philip Goldberg, the U.S. Ambassador to the Philippines. Welcome to our friends and fellow advocates. It's a great pleasure to welcome you to our campus and for such a meaningful purpose, to raise public awareness on AIDS and to encourage HIV testing. Miriam College has always been a national leader in education, in community action, and in many human services endeavors. Our mission is to educate our students so that they evolve into capable, productive, strong, and compassionate women, and men. We are dedicated to empowering them so they fully develop their gifts, talents, and strengths in working for the greater good of humanity. As a women's college, we are well aware that a great percentage of women are at risk for contracting this disease, and that many attitudes and practices heighten their vulnerability. We are determined to do something about it. That's why our institution and community, with WAGI at the forefront, are fully with you in these efforts to erase the terrible stigma and myths that accompany AIDS. We need to fight this battle and to change the ordinary person's thinking so that shame, embarrassment, guilt will have no place in thinking or talking about HIV/AIDS. These primitive reactions confuse the issue and add to the sufferings and burden already brought on by the disease. They have no place in a modern scientific world. And this is our responsibility as educators and as involved professionals. This work is a concrete expression of our school's core values of truth, justice, peace, and the integrity of creation. We hope that today's forum, Knowing is Living, will have a great and lasting impact in bringing improved knowledge and care to HIV individuals, their families, and caregivers. We are honored to be a part of this worthy movement. Thank you and good afternoon.
Thank you, President Lapus. Just a reminder, we now have, remember the hashtag for this campaign, hashtag Knowing is Living. You can find it in Facebook and Twitter. And if you want to contribute to the conversation, have recommendations, or connect with people working on HIV, you can simply join the hashtag. Thank you. Or you can post your pictures, your group pictures, just to indicate that you are supporting this cause. Now, I have the pleasure to introduce our Vice Mayor of Quezon City, our constant partner in many projects, Maria Josefina Belmonte Alimurong, the Vice Mayor of Quezon City. Vice Mayor Belmonte, also known as Joy Belmonte, what a name. No? Okay. Is the incumbent Vice Mayor of Quezon City. And as Vice Mayor, she also presides the Quezon City Council. She is known to be the city's tourism development czar. And is it Zarina? And Vice Chair of the city's Disaster Risk and Reduction Management Council. Joy is also a known staunch advocate of women, children, and LGBT rights. Joy is the youngest and only girl among 4 children of the Speaker of the House, Speaker Representative Belmonte. Joy finished her degree in social science at the Ateneo in 1992. She obtained her master's degree in museum studies at England's Leicester, Leicester, yes. I always get confused between Leicester University in 1995 and her master's degree in archaeology, no? Okay, take archaeology and be Vice Mayor at the University of College London in 1996. So, Vice Mayor Belmonte.
His Excellency Philip Goldberg, Ambassador of the United States, to Dr. Rosario Lapus, Miriam College President, who I've always been working with on children's issues, to Dr. Aurora De Dios, Executive Director of Women and Gender Institute, to all of the students here today, fellow advocates, good afternoon. This afternoon, we are gathered here to join the global community in strengthening our commitment to overcoming HIV/AIDS and making it a thing of the past. We also remember colleagues, friends, and family who may no longer be with us, but who continue to inspire us to persevere in our efforts to end this dreaded disease. Sadly, the Philippines is among the few countries in the world in which the prevalence of HIV/AIDS is rapidly increasing. As described by the Department of Health, During the 13th Philippine National AIDS Convention, HIV has evolved, and I quote, first from hidden and growing, then low and slow, and now to fast and furious, end of quote. Records have shown that cases have risen from 1 every 3 days in the year 2000 to 40 new cases daily in 2013, and now to 16 newly reported incidences every day in the year 2014. Since 1984 to the present, there were 20,989 cases reported. Almost half, or 9,472, are from the National Capital Region. Most alarming to me are reports that 23%, or 2,204 of these cases are documented here in Quezon City. Though I stress, persons discovered with HIV/AIDS here in Quezon City may not necessarily be residents of Quezon City. This, however, does not decrease our responsibility to them. In fact, I learned that they are discovered here in Quezon City because we have the facilities to help them here in Quezon City, unlike in their cities of origin. Fortunately, the government of Quezon City has adopted a mindset of openness and acceptance rather than of denial. I believe acceptance is the first step towards coming up with solutions to the problem. We have proactively sought information critical to a deeper understanding of HIV/AIDS, not only through partnerships with both local and global advocates and from an active participation in international exchanges, but most especially from persons living with HIV/AIDS themselves, who have been so generous with sharing their personal experiences with us. From what we have learned, we have managed to craft plans of action. One innovation we are most proud of is our Sundown Clinic, or Clinica Bernardo, in the 4th District of Quezon City, now recently replicated in Novaliches in our city's 5th District. It is significant to note that our city has more than 3.1 million residents divided into 6 districts, so 2 clinics can hardly be considered a grand solution. However, still it is a start. These clinics, which have won highest honors for our city in the recently concluded Galing Pook Awards, are open at night, at times most suitable for groups that are most at risk, are very privately located, and are manned by peer educators and counselors. Here, amidst a friendly environment, free drug testing, seminars, and other forms of vital information are offered for free. Ardo has also just recently been accredited as a treatment hub. Further, our health department, Quezon City Investment Plan for AIDS, in collaboration with local and international government and non-government organizations amounting to 100 million pesos. This investment plan guides us on how to adopt evidence-based responses based on surveys conducted by the DOH every 2 years, which means that the funds are used wisely and not wastefully because they are based on the results of the DOH surveillances. My office specifically has also worked with advocacy groups on adolescent health, now being taught to secondary school students all over Quezon City. In addition to issues such as reproductive health, mental health issues, illegal drug use, and other forms of substance abuse, the modules contain extensive information of HIV/AIDS as a significant youth-related issue. Just recently, in the area of legislation, our City Council passed the landmark measure we call the Quezon City Gender Fair Ordinance. This is a measure intended to ensure that all the services of the city, including comprehensive health services, are given without discrimination to our LGBT citizens. We hope that by recognizing this sector of our constituency and affording them equal rights and opportunities, the stigma attached to living diverse lifestyles will be significantly reduced. This is in addition to many other legislations that we have already undertaken to address the issue of HIV/AIDS. One that we passed last year prohibits all employment or areas of employment from discriminating suspected HIV/AIDS workers. The implementing public-private agency tasked to monitor all of these measures against HIV/AIDS is called the Quezon City Pride Council. And among their projects this month, to raise awareness about this new measure and others in the past that we have passed is the Quezon City Pride March and the Quezon City Pink Film Festival. The Pride Council is also very much involved in various activities that include organizing LGBTs in the community, conducting AIDS awareness seminars with AIDS testing and counseling in the local communities that we call barangays. And it is hoped that these events will stimulate discussion and bring various issues associated, but of course not limited to the sector, into the mainstream, which will force us policymakers to confront them even more and to seek more innovative solutions to these problems. So before I end, I would like to thank everybody for inviting Quezon City to be a part of this forum, and rest assured that your city, the city where Miriam College is located, is at the forefront of the battle against HIV/AIDS. Thank you very much, and mabuhay po tayong lahat.
Thank you, Vice Mayor Belmonte, for that very inspiring speech. Aren't we lucky that we live in Quezon City? Okay, even before the law on anti-discrimination is passed, we already have an ordinance. That's forward-looking for you. So now, my friends, I'd like to introduce, and it gives me great pleasure to introduce our ambassador, Philip S. Goldberg, who arrived in the Philippines just November 2013, last year. He is a career minister in the U.S. Senior Foreign Service, and most recently served as Assistant Secretary of State for the Bureau of Intelligence and Research. May I now present Ambassador Goldberg.
Magandang umaga sa inyong lahat. Good afternoon to everyone. Miriam College President, Dr. Lapus, Dr. Dios, Quezon City Vice Mayor Joy Belmonte, all of the students who are here, all of the representatives from various organizations. Thank you for being with us. As we gather to commemorate World AIDS Day, I'd like to acknowledge first the partnership between the U.S. Embassy, Miriam College, the local government, and the officials from all levels of government, the many dedicated government organizations, NGOs that advocate on behalf of people living with HIV and AIDS. Partnerships like these are important to eliminate stigma and discrimination, to guarantee that all people feel safe accessing HIV/AIDS testing and treatment services. Our message today, knowing is living, is central to slowing the spread of HIV and reducing its immunity of families. Today, we reaffirm that all persons should be able to access and receive essential health services from providers who treat them with dignity and respect. The goal of an AIDS-free Philippines will only be fulfilled when every Filipino is treated fairly when seeking access to testing and medical care. As we listen to the brave and personal stories of individuals living with HIV and AIDS, we should remember that respect for human rights is vital to fighting the disease. On World AIDS Day, I want to take the opportunity to play a vital role of tolerance and acceptance in slowing HIV in the Philippines. Tolerance requires treating everyone with dignity and respect. This extends to all people, regardless of their sexual orientation, gender identity, or marital status. Let me be clear, there's no shame in living with HIV/AIDS. While there may be vulnerable populations, anyone can be at risk of infection, but there is hope because knowing your HIV status means living. It means living a longer, healthier life if you are infected because you will be able to receive appropriate care. It means living for those around you because you can protect them. When people feel safe and respected, they will take the opportunity and the step to get tested because knowing is living. When Filipinos are sure of their rights and are sure they'll be protected regardless of their status, they will get tested and seek needed medical services, such as the ones that Vice Mayor Belmonte mentioned, because knowing is living. When members of vulnerable populations are secure and offered equal protections, they will get tested and seek support of family and friends, because knowing is living. On this World AIDS Day, I call on everyone to practice tolerance, destigmatize HIV/AIDS, and reach out so that together we may achieve the goal of an AIDS-free generation in the Philippines. And remember, knowing is living. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ambassador Goldberg. Thank you for that very short but very incisive remark about HIV/AIDS. Now I would like to introduce to you a person living with HIV, a writer and an HIV advocate, Wanggo Gallaga. Where is he? Okay, he's here, sorry. Wanggo is has publicly disclosed his HIV status on World AIDS Day in 2008. Since then, he has been sharing his story in television, on radio, articles in magazines and newspapers, and live events to raise awareness about HIV. Wanggo is a freelance writer who contributes to magazines and websites and mostly writes reviews on film and plays. He also writes poetry and film and has written the movies Sonata and Tianak. A very talented man, Wanggo.
Hi everyone, good afternoon. I'm actually kind of nervous. I wrote something down. Usually I just come up with something on the fly, but now I'm actually nervous. So it's because as I was introduced, 6 years, I found out that I'm HIV positive 6 years ago. And so in the past 6 years, I've been telling everyone my story so that people could learn from what happened to me so that it won't happen to them. I'm so sick of my own story. Really, I'm so tired of talking about it because there are other things that I want to talk about. 6 years later, and I'm still here. I'm standing in front of you. I've learned a couple of things. And, sorry, there. And the truth of the matter is, HIV is preventable. If you don't want to get HIV, you don't have to get it. All you have to do is be careful, use protection, and to constantly take the test. You just have to be informed and educated. And that's the truth. This is not like any other disease that can suddenly come up and you have it. And even if you try to live a normal, a healthy life, you will not get HIV if you protect yourself from HIV. And there are very, very simple ways of making sure. Be careful with needles. Always use protection when you're about to have sex. And then the other way is mother-to-child transmission. But, well, we're all mature and adult already, so that's not going to happen. But these are just very simple things that we have to think about. So if you don't want to have HIV, you do not have to get it. But for that to happen, you have to stay informed and you have to be vigilant. So where I want to bring the story now, because I'm so tired of talking about how I got it, I want to talk about what has happened to me after. And it's been 6 years, and what has happened to me since, I think, makes an interesting point. 6 years is enough time for me to look back and see what is different and what has changed. I am now a person living with HIV. That's what you call us now. You don't call us positives or whatever. We're people living with HIV. I think the most important thing in that statement is the living part, not the HIV part. I have HIV, yes. It means I have limitations. I have a speed bump, but it doesn't mean that it's the dead end, you know. I can keep moving forward. I can still have a full life, and I can still have a meaningful one. I refuse to make HIV my identifier and instead make the living part my new title, person living with HIV, as my identifier. As a person living with HIV, as a person who is living, I still hang out with my friends and with my family. I still get to meet new people every week, every month. I get to work. I am a contributing member to society. I pay my taxes. I still get to travel. I was able to travel this year. I'm very happy about that. I was able to move on, and I was able to write 2 films, which is like a dream of mine. And it might be a new career path for me. I don't know. But I'm still doing it. I'm actually getting things done. I get to do what I love as a job. And here's a funny one. I've always wanted to dance. I'm now taking dance classes. I'm 35 years old and I'm taking dance classes for the first time. And I'm a person living with HIV. I am living my life. And the reason why I am alive and I am living is because people have been very, very kind to me. People have been generous and people have been supportive of me. Our wonderful opening remarks a while ago, they talked about ending stigma and discrimination. I'm a living proof of the exception to that rule. Never since I came out in public in 2008 have I ever been discriminated upon or I've been stigmatized. And I've come out in public. I've gone on television. I've been going on live events. I've been to Batangas, to Dumaguete, to Bacolod, to Iloilo to talk about being an HIV positive person living with HIV. And I've never experienced discrimination or stigma. So it's not an illusion. It can happen. It's not something that we can fight for. It's something that is there, that is possible, but it's not the reality. Okay, I digressed from my speech. I don't know where I am now. So these are the things that we have to work together for. I became an HIV advocate in 2008 when Nicolo Cosme asked me, a photographer friend asked me to be a part of his exhibit. And when we were talking, he told me of a wonderful thing. He told me that, you know what, if we all take care of each other, if we end this discrimination and we end the stigma, if we take care of each other, if we take care of ourselves, we know our status, we protect each other, we can stop HIV from going on. He says, we are the cure. We're looking for like some kind of medicine out there that's going to clean and cure and get rid of this virus. But you know what? It's here. It's among us. Tayo lang. That's all it's going to need. We can be the cure as long as we take care of each other and we take care of ourselves. The reason why I can have a full life is because nobody has discriminated me and no one has stigmatized me. And I wish this for every person living with HIV. Because stigma and discrimination makes it very difficult for people to get treatment. It makes it very difficult for people to go and have themselves tested. It's very difficult for people to even just talk about it. Just talk about it. Because if they talk about it, people are going to be judged. This is what discrimination does. This is what stigma does. And like it was said a while ago, this is not the kind of thinking that we should have in 2014. It's the contemporary world. It's the modern world now. We should move beyond that. This is a scientific, this is a health problem. This is a social problem. This has nothing to do about morals. Before I go, I wrote something in my blog that I want to share. I have to find it. Here. This is something that I learned being a person living with HIV. I've learned to live with an open heart and an open mind. To not be defined by what has happened to me and by what I plan to do about it. Sorry. I told you I was nervous. Because I was diagnosed with HIV, I've learned to live with an open heart and an open mind, and to not be defined by what has happened to me, but by what I plan to do about it today. To take care of myself, really take care of myself, and to be good to me. To not allow my fear to hold me back, and to not to let my past drag me down. So thank you very much for listening. We have to get rid of stigma and discrimination, because if we're going to get rid of this disease, this virus, we need everyone's help. And this is not just about whether you are vulnerable or not. Everyone's vulnerable, but whether you will be safe from now on doesn't mean that this is not your fight too. Because to get rid of stigma and discrimination, we are all part of that fight. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Wangga, for that, shall I call it, inspiring, enlightening, and a very important message there, that caring and nurturing people with HIV is part of the cure. I think that's a very important message that he has given us this afternoon. Now I'd like to introduce another friend, feminist, woman activist, and also a person living with the HIV. Elena Felix is a mother of 4, a single parent, and a person living with HIV. Elena was diagnosed as HIV positive in 1994. And when she found out about her illness, she did not see a doctor for more than 10 years. I think out of also fear, out of embarrassment, and all of those feelings that go with discovering you're HIV/AIDS positive. She discovered a lump in her stomach, which was apparently myoma, for which she had to undergo an operation. She then experienced a lot of discrimination when she disclosed her condition. So when Felix saw that her children too were being affected by the stigma, she struggled and decided to fight against it. And with the help of some NGOs, including women's rights groups, I have to say, and organizations working with persons with HIV, she educated herself about the disease. And soon enough, she founded an organization, Babae Plus, an organization of women living with HIV. She is also a member of Network to Stop AIDS. Elena?
Gandang hapon po. Nakaka-nervyos nga. Sa dami-dami na ng mga invitation, pagsasalita sa iba-ibang lugar. Pero ngayon ay nakaka-nervyos nga. Madalas kami magkasama ni Wanggo. Pero bakit ngayon ay medyo nervyos kami? Anyway, magandang hapon sa ating lahat. Knowing and living. Maganda at napapanahon ang ating tema. Everyone must know all about HIV and AIDS. It's in the Philippine AIDS law in 1998 pa. Pero, and yet marami pa rin walang kaalaman tungkol dito. May mga tao pa rin na ang pagtingin sa HIV ay nakakadiri o nakakamatay. Takot pa rin ang mga tao na magpa-test, lalo na ang mga taong may high-risk behaviors. Magpa-test man, ayaw naman kunin o harapin ang result. Ang iba ay hiya ang nararamdaman. 2 dekada na ang nakalipas, ayon nga sa kwento ni Ma'am Oyi, 1994, nang ako ay ma-diagnose HIV positive, which I contracted from my intimate partner habang ako ay nagtatrabaho sa Middle East. Mahirap tanggapin na dahil sa HIV, hindi na ako makapagtrabaho abroad. Pakiramdam ko, pinagsaklabon ako ng langit at lupa. Karamihan ng mga migrant worker ay ito ang naramdaman. Dreams are broken. Sabi nga, meron akong 4 na anak, single parent. Paano na yung aking mga anak? But then, I need to stand up and work hard para mabuhay kong aking anak. Diyan sa likod. Panganay ko po. I could say that I'm lucky enough to have the support of my family. My eldest son, who searched in the internet about HIV and AIDS, siya yung nag-educate sa akin about it. Kasi sa ilang beses akong nagpipidos sa pag-abroad, wala akong ganitong information. Kaya hindi ko naprotektahan ang aking sarili. isa lang ang pakiusap ko sa kanila nung ako ay nag-disclose na meron akong HIV. Sabi ko, wag nila akong itratong may sakit. Kasi malakas pa naman ako. At yeah, happy naman ako dun sa mga ginawa nila. We live normally. Tulad din ng iba, naghihirap, ups and downs, pero kami pa rin yung magkakasama sa buhay. I do believe the importance of the role of the family to being an open and accepting environment for those people living with HIV. My children are my strength. I know very well how hurtful society can treat people in this condition. In 2006, kwento nga ni Ma'am Oyi, nung ako ay nag-seek ng treatment sana sa isang ospital, sabi ng doktor, ilagay ang HEPA kaysa ang HIV because it's more acceptable in the community. Ano ang pagkakaiba? Pareho namang infectious. So yan, ako rin yung nilagyan ng universal precaution na label, ang laki-laki. Tapos isinigaw sa isang malaking ospital, ito yung may AIDS. So yan, no, naramdaman ng aking mga anak. Ito rin yung panahon na nakita ko kami ng aking anak na sinipa sa isang tabi yung aking damit at tinapon sa basura gamit ang paa. Ganon kadiri. So yun yung mga karanasan na nagtulak sa akin. Meron pa, nung ako ay nag-disclose sa aking employer about imbes na ako yung pinakamataas na posisyon doon sa boutique, pero imbes na itaas yung aking posisyon at ang aking sweldo, binaba nila yon at hanggang sa huli, nag-decide na lang ako na umalis. So yun, sabi nung boss ko, naalala ko, sabi niya, pag may magtanong, sabihin mo may TB ka, huwag mong sasabihin na may HIV. So it's stigma. Yeah, tinawag kaming bagong bayani dahil ilang beses din naman ako nag-abroad, nagdadala kami ng dolyares, pero ano ang isinukli ng society? Diskriminasyon. Mabuti na lang andyan ang aking family, ang aking mga anak. Tulad ng mga karamihan, nangangarap pa rin naman ako sa edad kong 56 anyos, may 4 na anak, 4 na manugang, at 10 apo, nangangarap pa rin po naman ako. Tulad ng ating society, marami pa rin pangarap. Getting to zero, suntok sa buwan. Dahil hanggang ngayon, marami pa rin infection. Marami pa rin nakakaranas ng diskriminasyon. At marami pa rin namamatay sa AIDS-related disease. Pangarap ko din, sana, sa mga migrant workers, sana mawala na ang AIDS community. I believe by empowering people living with HIV will change society's perception towards us. It is very important for those newly diagnosed to seek proper medical care, treatment, and foster a nourishing environment. Giving them capacity buildings kasi noon, nung panahon na nag-involve ako sa community in 2007, maraming trainings for people living with HIV. Self-empowerment, mga capacity buildings, andyan ang peer education, andyan ang ARV adherence, marami. May home-based care pa kami noon. Pero ngayon, parang wala nang ganong pagkakataon para sa mga taong nabubuhay ng may HIV. Kailan lang may nakilala akong 20 anyos, sabi nung nanay niya, huwag mong sabihin sa mga kapatid mong bading na meron kang HIV. So sabi ko, sana kung meron sanang tuloy-tuloy na training o opportunity for them na makakuha ng mga ganong skills na kahit paano naiambag sa akin o naitulo sa akin. To help them fight this stigma and to end stigma and discrimination against people living with HIV, we need to adhere to our antiretrovirals for us to keep living. Sana po huwag kaming pabayaan ng gobyerno. Ayaw na rin namin o nakaka-nervyos na sa tuwi-tuwi na ay maririnig kaming stock out issue. Stock out, ibig sabihin po pwedeng kulang na ang stock, po pwedeng mawala. So nanganganib din yung aming buhay. Isang nakakalungkot yon, lalo na alam naman nating lahat na ang antiretroviral, isang araw na hindi mo pag-inom, ay ang pagbulusok ng virus, siya rin pagkanyang kumbaga, start ng war. Currently, sa ngayon, ako ay, kapag wala ako sa bahay na gumagawa ng mga magagandaon, kadi-deliver ko lang po ng isang wedding entourage. Nag-promote pa, no? Mananahi po ako. Minsan naman, I find time with bonding with my children and my grandchildren. Pero most of the time, ayan, i-invite ako sa mga ganitong pagtitipon. Na-invite na rin ako abroad, talking about migration and HIV. Kailan din ay naisama na rin ako sa mga women's and children's rights. Yan, si Tita G sa children's rights. Si Ma'am Oyi sa women's issues. Ayan. Masarap na mai-involve ka sa community, lalo na kung issue mo yung dinadala mo. Kapag wala, sabi nga, nothing about us without us. Di po ba? Ayan. Noon po, nung mga nakaraan na pagsasalita ako sa mga ganitong pagtitipon, ang lagi kong pangwakas na salita ay 3 Ps. Pangunawa, di ba Ma'am Leslie? Pangunawa, unawain ang tungkol sa HIV. Pangunawa sa mga taong may HIV. Pagtanggap, yes, tinanggap lang po namin ito. Pagtanggap din sana ng pamilya at ng society sa amin. At patas na karapatan. Hindi namin po hinihingi ang espesyal na treatment. Patas lang po ang kailangan. Pero ngayon, iba na yung aking pagwawakas. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Elena Felix, 20 years living with HIV, a person giving hope and inspiration, and a person living with dignity. Thank you.
Wonderful. Salamat, Elena. Di ko na alam what description should I have. This is a living reality. She's been living 20 years with HIV with 4 children. This her firstborn, malaking karangalan na napalaki niya at natustusan niya ang 4 niyang anak. And we're also reminded about a very special issue close to our heart, and that is our migrant workers, who is a very important sector that we should also reach out to, because many of them also have been infected with HIV. Before we go to, we have a special video prepared by the U.S. Embassy. But before that, I'd like to just acknowledge the people who have come to attend our forum today: the Council for the Welfare of Children, Committee on Committee on Women and Gender Equality of the House of Representatives of Congresswoman Villarica. Of course, the Office of the Quezon City Vice Mayor, Society of Transsexual Women of the Philippines, Love Yourself, HIV/AIDS Support House, Action for Health Initiatives, the AIDS Society of the Philippines, our Commission on Human Rights, our Center for Migrant Advocacy, and from Miriam College, our, of course, our officials from the administration, the College of International Humanitarian and Development Studies, IS, our students from the College of Arts and Sciences, Social Work, no, that SEEDS, SW is part of SEEDS, Department of Psychology, as well as History. Okay, so there you have it. And now may we have the video. Can you turn on the light?
Today is my wife. Today is my wife and I are going to get tested for HIV/AIDS. Because if you know your status, then you can prevent illness. You can prevent passing it to your children and to your families, and we can make everybody have healthier, happier lives.
Increasing testing would yield early detection. Early detection would result to early intervention. And early intervention would result to better prognosis or management of HIV infection. And the prevalence ranges from anywhere between 4% to as high as almost 50% in some of the key affected populations.
Once a person wants to get himself screened, he can get screened through two options. Number one, by setting up an appointment through our online website, www.loveyourself.ph, or the second one, which is an on-site or walk-in screening. We also have an option to use or call us through 0915-366-LOVE. After the client finishes filling in the forms, he will be asked and given an assigned counselor. So the assigned counselor will be providing him or her a comprehensive HIV 101. So it involves all the things that you need to know about HIV. Once the risk assessment is done, now the client's blood is extracted. After the blood extraction, what will happen is the client will wait for the result. After the results are in, the client will be asked again or called again for the post-test counseling and the releasing of the result. Here in the Philippines, we have 5 readily available treatment hubs, which are Philippine General Hospital, San Lazaro, Research Institute for Tropical Medicine, and 2 private hospitals.
The U.S. Embassy Manila encourages HIV testing because knowing your HIV status will help you make good decisions about it and prevent the spread of the disease. HIV diagnosis helps people attain long, fulfilling, and healthy lives. I got tested.
I got tested. I got tested.
I got tested. And you should too.
Remember, knowing is living.
Thank you for that. By the way, I think we should all be reminded that HIV does not discriminate. So anybody, all of us, can in fact be, whether you're young, you're old, you're transsexual, or heterosexual, everyone can be infected. So take that advice seriously. By the way, I have not been tested yet, so I cannot appear on TV. So if you have been tested, you can use the hashtag and have that line, I have been tested as well. Okay, now to proceed. Our next speaker is Executive Director of Love Yourself, Ronnie Vin. Ronnie Vin Garcia Pagtakhan is a registered nurse in the Philippines and in the US. He is a graduate of the UP Manila, where he took his BS nursing degree with honors, and PWU and UP Manila for his MA and MS nursing degree. He is now a faculty member of Mapua Institute of Technology, Centro Escolar University, and UP Core Group Review, SENE, this is SENE, SENE Learn, and other national nursing board review centers around the Philippines. So Ronnie Vin.
Hello. Ang serious ng mga tao. Mabuhay! So, I just want to hold this. So, good afternoon. So, let me start. Totoo nga, nakaka-resonate yung, the tension resonates. It's like a Miss Universe pageant that you need to like answer really well. So, so let me start. Dr. Ambassador Philip Goldberg, Vice Mayor Joy Belmonte, esteemed guests, students, advocates, good afternoon and rainbow greetings. Ayan. I am Vin. I am a volunteer of Love Yourself, and I am here together with my 512 volunteers to share our dear story, and hopefully we can help inspire a little so more people can help towards HIV awareness and HIV prevention. Manus Caput Core. These are three main ingredients of Love Yourself with every intervention that we have. By using your hand, we become strong. By using your brain, wise, and your heart, merciful. Sounds a little bit cliche, right? Arte. But we believe in optimism, magnanimity, and the power of community and volunteerism. There are many caring people around the world. Let me show you what we do. Ayan. So, okay. So, I don't want to share our mission and vision because I thought it's going to be a seminar type of thing. So let's move on. So what do? What we do is actually we have HIV operations. We have 2 clinics right now, one in Malate and the other one is in Shaw. We provide free HIV awareness and screening in our clinics, open every day except Mondays and Tuesdays. You can just go there and have yourself screened or just go there for an HIV awareness seminar or talk. And if you're ready, you can have yourself tested or you can just go back if you're ready. Another one is that since all of us are volunteers for our events, so that we can continue on helping other people as much as we could. Third one is learning and development. We believe that HIV is not just a health issue. What is it then? Diba? It's an issue of, health, psychological, mental, spiritual. It involves your family, your friends, your lover, your lovers. It involves everyone. It defies gender. It defies class. It is not who you are that puts you at risk. It's what you do. And also we have communications through our social media campaigns. Next, please. So how do we do it? Through our campaigns. Let me show you the things that we do. Next slide, please. So ayan, most of the things we do are a little bit provocative and sexy because sexy is in, right? Girls, tama ba? Kailangan mo arte pagkakasawin. Tama ba? Yeah. So what we do is we want people to look at HIV in such a way that it's like hypertension and diabetes. You can have it for the rest of your life. There's no cure yet, but there's treatment as long as you're taking care of yourself. We want to put HIV screening in such a way that it's like having a haircut or going to a spa. It's part of your routine wellness thing to make yourself feel good, to develop more self-worth, to develop self-awareness, and to love yourself more. So what else do? We have screenings. Next slide, please. Photo shoots, block screenings. Why? Because we want to spread awareness in such a way that it's not the usual thing that we do. It's like more, I mean, we can't say that something is not working if you haven't tried. So as much as we can, we do diverse activities that where people could go and enjoy themselves. Yeah. What else? Next, please. We also have videos and other activities depending on the type of person you are. Next, please. We also have parties and next. And mass testings. Actually, yesterday, the other day, we had a mass screening where 228 people came. And out of those 228 people, 29 people were actually diagnosed to be people living with HIV, which is really good. Why? Not just the number of people acquiring HIV and getting higher doesn't mean that the epidemic's going up. It's always a double-edged sword. One way to see it is that there's actually an increase in number of people getting HIV. But other side is that people are actually getting themselves tested, which is really good, right? So thanks to the volunteers, all of them have their own weekday jobs, and they spend a day or two of their busy schedules just to help other people, diba? And I'm so proud of them. Next slide, please. We also have activities that promote self-worth, developing one's potential, knowing one's talent, or developing one's talent or skill. Next slide, please. And we also have trainings for our volunteers. And also, next slide, please. As a thing, as our COP, we were able to reach almost 17,000 people through our on-site clinic and outreach screening since the organization started in 2011. And we were able to reach 2.5 to 3 million online hits every year. Actually, this year, from January to October 2014, we're able to reach 8,041 people. And out of those 8,000 people, 1,021 or 13% were actually people living with HIV. It's good that you know your status early so you would know what to do. Next. Last year, I am very proud to say that we were able to help reach almost 40% of the newly diagnosed people living with HIV in the whole Philippines. Now, let me go back to my speech. Segue lang yan. Now, 2 to 3 decades ago here in the Philippines, HIV started as a silent epidemic. Many Filipinos were affected, but it was never prioritized. 2 to 3 decades later, the silent epidemic went from slow to fast and furious. While scare tactics can be effective, it has been used in many countries, including the Philippines, and has been for some, but not for all. I believe that awareness may not be the sole key to behavior change, but it's definitely one of the core ingredients. The key is an intervention tailor-fit to a specific target segment. As they say, different strokes for different folks. I can talk all day about numbers, but is it really about the numbers? I believe the bigger issue that we need to talk about are the issues of stigma, discrimination among people living with HIV, friends, families, jobs, families again, nakasulat eh. Relationships and relationships affected. Everyone deserves respect because knowing is living. And this is our game plan. Promote self-worth. Let's dare, care, and share. Dare to know your status, dare to know yourself, accept yourself, and develop self-worth. Care for yourself and others, and naturally, you'll be able to share your gifts and talents to others. Thank you, everyone, and I leave you with this quote. If we want to change things, we must first try to change within ourselves. If we want to play, if we want to change the world, we must first show up on the field to score. Thank you.
Maraming salamat. Maraming salamat and thank you for the work that you do. Kaya bigyan natin ng masagabong palakpakan for all the things that you do and the service of those who are affected by HIV/AIDS. May I, you have your red ribbons, all of you? Okay. By the way, this is also, we're nearing Human Rights Day and 16 days of activism against violence against women. Can we keep this red ribbon until Human Rights Day, December 10? Yeah, okay? Yeah. Our next speaker is Dr. Kate Leiritana, who is the medical director of the SHIV Foundation's clinic. The SHIV Foundation is an NGO nonprofit institution that caters to the sexual well-being and needs of every Filipino, regardless of sexual orientation and gender identity. So it also provides services that range from HIV screening lab tests for all kinds of sexually transmitted infection, treatment and management, HIV treatment, care and support provision, HIV and STI prevention, and other health-related complications management. Dr. Kate has been a recipient of awards like the International Investigator Award by the Infectious Disease Society of America, Medical Association in San Francisco, California, for her research, the changing epidemiology of the HIV positive patient before and after accessible antiretroviral therapy. Dr. Kate?
Thank you, ma'am, for that gracious introduction. I'd like to thank the organizers of this event for inviting me. And I'm very happy to be here seated with my three friends. So these people I have come to know for a long time, and I'm very thankful for everything that they've done for the advocacy. Without them, I at least wouldn't be here. Okay, so we have been inspired by Nanay Ellen and Wanggo to see how actually a person living with HIV can go through life normally. That's what we all aim to have. And then we will also inspired by Vin and his crew of 500 plus volunteers. These people have day jobs. They don't get paid. They offer a day or 2 or 3 without anything in return. So very good for that. Start a more somber note of giving you the numbers that Vin doesn't want to give you. Just so that we have an idea of how big our problem is. So historically, there have been 0.3 million people living with HIV globally. However, there have been a decrease noted in general among most countries. That's the trend. Everywhere else, numbers are decreasing, which is good, right? However, as you can see in my slide, we are one of the very few countries who buck this trend. This is one top list of countries that we don't want to be in. It's not something to be proud of, but internationally, we are known for such. Next slide, please. And this is how our picture has been since 1984, since we started recording how many people are diagnosed. Take note that these are registered people living with HIV. These are people who either submit themselves for testing or are encouraged by either their employer for overseas Filipino workers or have been admitted at the hospital for some disease and are then worked up. So you can imagine how many risk for getting HIV and you get them tested earlier, then they can achieve a long life with good quality of life. Next, please. Okay. So getting tested is the first step. Is that it? What happens after? Fine, you have yourself tested. But you have to submit yourself to the HIV care continuum, meaning you have to get people you have to give them the results. You have to make sure that they come back for it. You have to enroll them in an HIV clinic. They have to follow up on schedule. They have to take their meds regularly. And the goal is viral suppression. We think that this is very easy and achievable, right? Next. And we assume that whoever we reach, we bring to 90% adherence, which makes good outcomes. But the reality is, it might be a little bit more something like this. There's a lot of unclaimed results in the labs. What do we do with these? They don't even bother to come back to know if they're HIV reactive. So that means that they'll stay at home. I feel good. I think I'm healthy. And then wait for a few years, they come back to you, but through the emergency room. So these are what we call lost to follow-ups, and we want to avoid that. How do we avoid that? Yes, we have to link them to care. So it has been shown that a good rapport with your counselor, such as Vin, and tester during the testing experience, good quality of information provided, and the counselor's engagement and empathy can bridge the gap from testing over loss to follow-up to linkage to care. If Vin was your counselor, wouldn't you want to see him again? Yeah. So I rely heavily on the ability of those who counsel the people to have themselves HIV tested, to be able to bring them over the gap. Because that is when I know that when they come in my clinic, they say, I was referred here by Vin. I like him so much. He keeps on telling me I have to come here and get myself treated. And because I want to live longer with my family, I'm here. And then Vin follows up on him. And then we talk sometimes. I'm sending someone over, or Vin or any other of his 512 counselors. So I have kakampi. What's that in English? Kakampi? Kakampi. English now, okay. Ally, oh my gosh, an ally. I have an ally in treatment. Next slide, please. Okay. The most important part of this short talk is the PLHIV, the people living with HIV. They are a very empowered group of people. In fact, these are just from Google searches. Each header is a blog of a Filipino living with HIV. And these are just a handful. I know there are a lot, but can you imagine how much empowered these people are to come up with their way to encourage other people? Each blog relates their own story. So if someone was at a loss and will Google HIV Philippines, they would stumble on any one of those blogs. And it would depend on the experience of that person from testing, counseling, and treatment, whether the one reading their blog would be encouraged to do so. Okay? So that's good. But there are some issues that I still encounter, which I can't answer. I am going to read a list of some of the most frequent questions. Some I can answer, some I can't. We can work on them together. Okay, number one, where to get tested. Okay, minsan that's easy. If people can reach me on a male dating site, because I pretend to be male sometimes on that dating site, and ask me where to get tested, I think they can Google HIV Test Philippines on their own. Maybe they're being pa-cute. Okay. Where to get treated? We have 18 treatment hubs in the whole Philippines. Okay, once they're treated and they're following up with their doctor, they ask, I need to take a sick day just to get meds. I've run out of sick leaves. Why is getting better so difficult and constraining? What do I answer to that? We're open only on weekdays, mga ganyan. How to afford living. So you've seen how much the cost of 1 year on treatment is. And most of the patients that I see are average young males and females who are earning as much as we would think. Where to get jobs? Will I be discriminated upon if I tell my proposed employer I have HIV? Would they look into my history and say, oh, I see that you have bad work history, but in their head, they're thinking, I can't hire someone with HIV. But they won't say that because that's against the law. But they will find a loophole somewhere. So a lot of employees don't tell their employers about their status. Can I go abroad? Maybe as a tourist, yes. But there are countries who require HIV tests for those who want to live there and those who want to work there. Unfortunately, our law covers only our country. So mandatory testing for the Middle East, Singapore, we can't do anything about that. Of course, that will crush other people's hopes and dreams. Will my dreams end? That's a hard question to answer. How do I tell my partner? Can I have a child and a family? Who will take care of me when I grow old, when I get sick, when I haven't told anyone, least of all my family? Do we have a home for the aged PLHIV? We don't. And then lastly, what can my country do for me? JFK. So these are some questions that I get on a daily basis through personal encounters, through texts, through email, and sometimes I can give them answers and none of them are very satisfying. So it's heartbreaking sometimes, but I hope that if we know a bit of what I told you earlier, how big the problem is, and through their experiences of how we should avoid stigma and discrimination, we can make living a little bit better for those who have HIV. Thank you.
Maraming salamat po. Now we know at least where to go, no, and who to ask. Our last speaker and the one who will moderate our open forum is Dr. Loreto Roquero. Dr. Roquero is working with the Philippine Department of Health for 14 years. And he is very involved in the areas of infectious disease, child health, and HIV/AIDS and STIs, family planning, and reproductive health programs. He has worked in various capacities as program manager, project director, advisor to DOH, including UNAIDS, UNFPA, UNDP, WHO, JICA, and many more. And of course, USAID. And as director of the Philippine National AIDS Council, Dr. Roquero led an early multisectoral response to HIV/AIDS. Dr. Roquero?
Thank you, Ma'am De Dios. Yes, our ambassador, our vice mayor from Quezon City, our college president. Magandang hapon po sa ating lahat. We've heard 4 excellent and exciting speakers this afternoon. No? Agree? Okay. Wanggo and Elena talked about their lives, their feelings, their thoughts, their insights of living with HIV. Kate has talked about challenges of HIV programming in the Philippines. How do we provide services? What services we need to provide? How people need to access this treatment or services available? And of course, Vin has talked about what partners, what volunteers, what NGO partners can do to help support our advocacies for prevention, care, and treatment for HIV. Now it's time to open the floor for questions and clarifications. No, we have like 30 minutes. No, maybe a short time. But this gives us space to clarify. To ask further, to understand better what our speakers here had provided us this afternoon. I saw 2 microphones on the floor. No, so probably what we're going to do is, please feel free to stand up, approach the mic, tell us your name, and shoot that question. Maybe you can address the question to a specific speaker, but if it concerns all 4, then we'll ask everyone to respond. Okay po, sino ang gustong magsimula? Do I see hands? Aba, nandiyan hiya pa. Ako ngayon ang unang magtanong. Okay. What resonates in the messages this afternoon is knowing. No? Basically, when I'm thinking about knowing, we should know what the risks are. What are our personal risks? And what action do we need to do in terms of knowing our HIV status? But that's not easy, no? As nabanggit kanina ng ating ambassador, no? Tolerance and acceptance, no? In terms of understanding this key population at risk in terms of knowing their HIV status. And that keeps them actually from accessing services. Just to give you some idea, no? In 21 cities, in a survey done in 2013 by the Department of Health, looking at a key population, yung men having sex with men, only 8% of them got tested and knew the results. So malayo pa tayo in terms of knowing, no? Knowing what is your HIV status. So maybe I should shoot that first question with Vin. What do we do, no, in terms of love yourself? No? What are your activities which basically encourages men to go forward and get tested in your facility?
Hello, good afternoon again. I'm gonna speak Taglish kasi yung English ko hanggang 5 minutes lang. So, good afternoon again. So, basically, Love Yourself has different types of intervention. So, right now, we have I Want You. So, and I Want You and Love Yourself University, an intervention that's focused on university men and women. So, bringing HIV screening closer to the universities. Because recently, there's a 24 years old. That's number 1. Number 2 is our clinics. We have 2 clinics, one in Malate, the other one is in Shaw Boulevard. So that's for people who are comfortable and ready to get themselves screened. We also have a 3rd type of screening called the Love Yourself Platinum. It's for people for men having sex with men who are very discreet to a point that they're not really ready to disclose who they really are. So we give them a special time or a venue for them to have themselves tested, with them knowing the location or the venue, but it's only them who knows it. And we also have other activities for clans called Love Yourself Frat Pad and other types of activities. Because in Love Yourself, as much as possible, we try to experiment on new interventions. Because we believe that, this activity might be effective for you, but this might not be effective for other segments. Because at the end of the day, it's not really us, right? It's really the client that matters.
Thank you, Ben. You briefly mentioned about disclosure. No? This is a very challenging issue for people living with HIV. We know, no? We know of PLHIVs who died in the hospital without their families even knowing they have HIV and they have died. There's a question passed on here from the audience, and maybe this is for Wanggo and Elena. How did you tell your family that you are HIV positive?
Una na ako. In 1994, nung ma-diagnose ako kasi, ang natandaan ko sinabi ng doktor, you're going to live 5 to 10 years. So it's a challenge kung 10 years yung ibibigay sa akin na buhay. So kailangan, sabihin ko agad sa mga anak ko, na paghandaan yung kamatayan ko in 5 to 10 years. And it's a matter of fact, dahil nung panahon na yan, wala pa naman pong antiretroviral. Walang treatment. So the fact na 5 to 10 years, kailangan paghandaan na namin yan ang aking mga anak. Kailangan mag-struggle na rin sila. tulungan na rin akong maitaguyod ang kanilang buhay. So hindi ko naman yan masosolo na mag-isa kung hindi nila ako tutulungan. Kaya napakagaan na sabihin sa kanila na ito yung sinabi ng doktor, meron akong HIV and I'm going to live 5 to 10 years. So ang acceptance yata is more on the death in 10 years. So yun, at least handa na kami. Diba? Yun yung pagtingin nung araw eh.
Yep. And Wanggo?
For me, it was very different because I have a very close relationship with my family. I was very lucky that my parents are hippies, very liberal. We've always been open with each other. They knew about my lifestyle. They knew about my sexual preference at a very early age. They're the ones who constantly reminded me to use protection. So of course they were really angry when I told them. It's like, we told you, you know, but I didn't listen, obviously. So it was quite easy for me to be able to go and tell my parents. So I think this becomes a really a big issue because a lot of people maybe do not have this kind of relationship. I was very lucky that my parents and I have always had this kind of communication. So what I always tell people is that it's about time that we start talking to our parents, or even if you don't want to start with your parents, siblings or a best friend, and start there. You have to build your support system first, and you can do this slowly and one by one. As long as you find someone, one person that you really trust, you talk to them first, bring it out with them, disclose yourself at that stage, and then when you feel comfortable, add another person to that list and another person to that list. It has to start one by one. I have no shame. So ako dire-diretso akong kwento sa mga kaibigan ko and my family. But for other people who do not have this kind of situation with their friendships and with their family, start it one by one.
Thank you, Elena
Thank
and
you.
Wanggo. Yes, ma'am. Take the mic.
Hi, I'm Joanna Guevara. I'm a student of Miriam College, 4th year International Studies. So my question is for Mr. Gallaga. I understand that, let's say you're very lucky to have been surrounded with people who are accepting towards people living with HIV. So my question is, how can we develop our sensitivity towards people living with HIV?
Well, as you find out from Vin, for example, the love yourself, right? I got that right. Okay. The Love Yourself organization, they're completely composed of volunteers. All it takes is for you to be able to volunteer one day of your time to work with these organizations. And there's not just Love Yourself. There's AIDS Society of the Philippines. There's Take the Test. There's Babae Plus. There's so many places where you can open yourselves up to these sorts of situations. At the same time, it's not just, this is something that I always try to do because all these civil services, these NGOs, the government, we have to cast a wide net when we're trying to talk to people. We have to try and get as many people as we can. We can't get into the specifics. So every time we go and talk, I always tell people, you guys are the ones who can reach your loved ones. You are the ones who can reach specifically the people close around you. So talk about it. You don't even have to know someone who has HIV. Just talk to the people around you and ask them, what do you know about HIV? Do you think you should have a test? You know, if you know someone personally who is having who's undergoing risky behavior, have you actually thought of yourself to say, hey, this is what you're doing. Don't you think that you should take a test? I mean, it's just about talking to the person beside you. We can't talk to everyone individually. So we have to make these large statements and hopefully everyone will listen. But everyone here, you have circles of friends who are not here today. Why don't you talk to them? Open it up in a family conversation. And that's how it starts. And if you talk about it, if your friends talk about it, if they talk about it with their friends, and it becomes a constant conversation, then it becomes so much easier for us to spread the information.
Yep. So just in addition to that, how do we increase our sensitivities to people living with HIV? And we have done this in the health sector. I've worked for the Department of Health early on in the national program, and nakita namin a major source of discrimination for PLHIVs were health workers themselves. And we have to work hard over time really to improve the situation in our health facilities. And we know we are moving forward with this effort. Yep, any more questions from the floor?
Hi,
Yes,
good
go ahead, please.
afternoon. I'm Bea Pase, fourth year international studies student, and I have two questions. First is that, what do you think are the loopholes in our Philippine AIDS law, or RA 8504? And what do you think are the possible amendments you would like to recommend? And second is that, how do you see yourself empowered, knowing that you are PLHIV?
Okay, the first question was, what are loopholes that you see in the HIV/AIDS law, and how we can maybe respond to this?
Yes, possible amendments you would like to recommend.
Okay, so anyone from the panel?
Actually, hello, ayan. There are already proposed amendments to the HIV law, and it has been read at Congress, and it is waiting to be read in the Senate. And actually, marami. There's a lot of stuff that needs to be covered, and we have to wait for the final verdict on that before we can actually decide whether it is now serving most of our PLHIV. But if you are pertaining to the RA 8504 as it is right now, and personally what I see in there is we have what we call HMO, and a lot of our working population has that when they are employed. And right now, the HMOs aren't covering any age-related illnesses. This is aside from what we call health insurance, wherein the person personally purchases this health insurance for his own benefit, and usually the health insurance will have a mandate whether we cover for HIV or not. But for the general population, HMOs do not. And when someone gets admitted for an AIDS-related condition, what they do is they don't tell their doctors, or they ask the doctors, please don't put anything that will lead to my diagnosis because I cannot afford this 300,000 peso bill. I want my HMO to cover it. So that's a lose-lose situation. There occurs a bit of insurance fraud. There occurs a bit of discrimination on both sides. So that is something that I wish that the new law will address. Hopefully with the help of the organizations of insurance providers.
Thank you for that. Can you repeat the second question, and to whom do you address this question?
To Sir Wanggo, how do you see yourself empowered despite knowing that you are PLHIV?
I guess the best way for me to answer that is that the reason why I think I am empowered as an HIV person is because I have not received discrimination and stigma. And that's why it is so important that we get rid of it. Because I can do the things that I do. I commute, I go out and meet up with my friends, I still go to work. I get to still be a human being and be normal and do the things that everybody else can do. I am empowered, and the HIV doesn't become an issue. I just have to deal with it myself in terms of the physicality of the situation, but I am still a person. And I think that's the most important part. That's how we have to empower all people living with HIV, to give them that chance to just be a regular person with a medical condition. We don't have these problems. We don't discriminate against people who have diabetes. We don't discriminate against people with, what are the other, hypertension, for example. But we do with HIV, and it's not fair, and it's not the same.
Thank you, Wanggo. And maybe Elena can also share what makes you empowered as a person living with HIV.
Siguro ang nakikita ko lang na ano dyan, yung mga, yan, tama yung sinabi ni Wanggo, yung mga nakaranas ng stigma and discrimination. Pero ang katotohanan kasi, kapag once, karamihan ng mga nakaka-experience, yung pagbukas mo pa lamang ng confirmation, iba na yung impact niyan, mabigat na yan sa kalooban. Kasi may kaugnay siyang pagtingin ng lipunan, di ba? So yun lang mabigat na natanggapin na meron kang HIV. Sa akin naman, yung pinakamabigat yata yung nilagyan ako ng unfit to work. So parang devastated ka na eh. Bagsak yung pangarap. So doon ka siguro nangangailangan ng ng coping mechanism para lang makatayo ka uli. Kasi parang ang hirap na tanggapin na meron kang virus pero hindi ka naman masasabing bakit ka kinategorize as unfit to work, kaya mo pa naman maghanap buhay. Pero yun nga, dahil dun sa kaakibat ng mga pagtingin, doon lang siguro niuugnay ko na kailangan talaga ma-empower yung mga tao na tanggapin agad-agad, ito na yung kalagayan ko, pero kailangan ko magpatingin, kailangan ko ng suporta ng mga pamilya ko. Isang realidad sa community na nakita ko nung na-involve ako, karamihan ng mga, lalo na sa aming grupo sa Babae Plus, karamihan ng members namin ay mga asawa ng OFW o seaman. Hindi ito mga nagtapat sa kanilang mga misis, kahit ang mga misis ay naging faithful. So isipin mo yung multiple burden na dala-dala ng babaeng ito. Bilang nanay, bilang babae na naghintay sa kanyang asawa, tapos ito yung mahihintay niya. Meron na pala siyang infection. Nakuha niya na sa asawa niya without the husband being honest sana, di ba? Para man lang sana nabigyan ng pagkakataon ang mga babaeng ito na magdesisyon sa kanilang sarili. Na sige, kung magsasama pa tayo, di sana magsuot tayo ng proteksyon. Yun, isang empowerment sana yan. Tapos yung babae rin sana, magde-decide din siya kung gusto pa rin niya na makisama o hindi na, di ba? Yun yung problema na nakita ko. Kaya lang sa akin kasi, ang talagang pinaka mabigat na impact ay yung lagyan ka ng label na unfit to work. As migrant, na gusto mo magtrabaho abroad, lagyan ka ng ganon. So yun, ang empowerment siguro na kailangan namin ay, una, ano yung ibibigay ng gobyerno? May reintegration, sabi nila noon, meron. Pero ako personally, hindi ko naranasan ang reintegration program. Salamat.
Okay. Thank you, Wanggo and Elena. Looking at our time, we have 5 more minutes, so probably we can take in 1 or 2 questions. Go ahead, please.
Hello, my name is Mika Asis, first year, SIDS. My question is, knowing that the Philippines is a predominantly Catholic country, do you think the correlation between using protection versus family planning that the Catholic Church prefers creates more issues for HIV prevention? Anybody can answer the question.
Okay, so it is a church and HIV/AIDS prevention plus
So
family planning. Who would like to
know.
respond from the floor?
Gagaling ko lamang kung magsalita sa isang press conference kaninang umaga na ginanap sa Bacolod, Inasal. Ito po yung Catholic for RH. Napakabigat ng issue pero sana nga kung ang simbahan, I was born Catholic. So napako na yan sa aking pagiging Katoliko. Pero pag tiningnan natin HIV, sa issue ng HIV, sana magbukas ang kaisipan ng simbahang Katoliko pagdating sa condom use. Hindi naman namin pinopromote ang condom para sa family planning. Pinopromote natin siya para sa prevention. Tapos, ang isang issue rin namin dyan sa RH, meron nga tayong family planning, pero karamihan pa rin ng mga member ng Babae Plus o mga women living with HIV ay na-forced sterilization. Hanggang sa oras na ito, meron na tayong prevention of mother-to-child transmission na napakaganda dahil in 2 years na hinawakan namin ang project ay 0. Merong isang lumabas pero namatay din agad. Pero ibig sabihin, maganda yung programa. Na-establish na siya hanggang sa local government natin. Kaya lang, ang problema, meron pa rin mga institution, may mga hospital pa rin na pag dumating si babaeng buntis, kasi bakit naman HIV ka na, nagbuntis ka pa. So yun laging may kaakibat na paghusga. Tapos, ang mahirap sa amin, mga nag-educate na kami, kapag pinasok namin ang mga eskwelahang Katoliko, sasabihin din sa amin, pwede bang pakitanggal ninyo yung letter C? hindi na po comprehensive ang aming ibibigay. Sa akin pong pananaw, hindi ko maibibigay yung tamang information kapag tinanggal ko yung condom use. Diba? Ano yung ipapalit ko doon? Careful sex, ayaw nga nilang sabihin ang sex. Diba? So yun doon talagang, although may mga, nakita ko rin naman yung mga initiative ng iba pang mga partners natin sa community like St. Camillus. Pero syempre, marami pa rin talagang sarado ang isip pagdating sa condom use.
Okay.
Salamat.
Thank you for that. But maybe for the information also of the meeting, no? There are also church denominations who are collaborating with the National AIDS. So hindi lahat, no? Hindi lahat against. There are progressive thinking among some church denominations in terms of use of family planning and condoms for HIV prevention. Bago pa kayo, may naisingit na question kasi, this is related to Elena, no? What was your reaction to the son, no? What was your reaction when your mom told you that she is HIV positive? So, we'll take someone to speak, no? Outside of the ating apat na panelists. Kayo po susunod.
Tatabihan ko na yung nanay ko. Okay, unang reaction po, oh damn, she's gonna die. She's going to die. Okay, mamamatay na yung nanay ko. Yun ang una ko reaction. 16 years old lang ako noon eh. Nung una kong nalaman yun. Or nung galing sa kanya. Kung siya, naramdaman niya na pinagsakluban siya ng langit at lupa, ako naman parang tinanggalan din ng langit at lupa. Okay? Wala na akong masasandalan. Okay? Wala ako kasi medyo na-miss ko yung nanay ko kasi nag-OFW siya. So wala akong nanay na kumbaga kasama kong naglalakad. No. Sisimula medyo mabigat. Okay, bigat ng pakiramdam ko na hindi ko alam kung paano ako makaka-cope up. 16 years old boy, no? Nakakaba nga dito. Pero naging magaan dahil dun sa salitang kamatayan. Nung siguro sa approach na rin, on how my mom told it to us or opened it to me. Sa akin kasi una bilang the panganay, para kasing anak, mamamatay na ako. Bakit? Paano? Kasi may HIV ako. Ganun kasimple na parang anak, aalis ako bukas. Okay? So, although mabigat, dahil alam mo, mamamatay na yung nanay mo. Okay? Parang, okay. Paano kami? Paano ako? So, naging topic namin yun for a week, for a month, until dumating yung time na, oo nga, mamamatay ka na eh. So, ano gagawin natin? So, simple. Enjoyin na lang natin yung nandito ka. Enjoyin ko na lang yung mga araw na nakikita ko na maganda ka pa. And to continue dreaming ng habang nandyan ka. Na sana dumating yung time na kahit wala ka na, okay, and kung anong naging ka sa amin, lalo na sa akin bilang panganay, kahit pa paano ma-share ko rin doon sa mga kapatid ko, sa mga anak. That's it.
Thank you for sharing that. We've heard this countless times, in other families also affected by HIV/AIDS. But I think what resonates in the message from this afternoon, from the speakers, is the message of hope. Yeah, the message of hope and inspiration. That people living with HIV can still live happy and productive lives. In the interest of time, may tatlo pa kasi nakatayo sa floor. I know this excites you, you know, and yes. The three questions, maybe we hear the questions so that the panelists can respond to this. No, can you shoot your question?
Hi, I'm Jam Silvestre, third year international studies students, and my question is, what are the psychological effects on you having found that you are infected with the HIV?
Psychological effects when you knew you were HIV positive. Your question, ma'am?
Actually, it's my call to action on the school population of Miriam College. Okay, I've been to a town hall meeting just now, this morning. It concerns youth health and rights. And a lot of young people there were invoking their rights and telling us that they should be listened to. But I have to tell them my frustration. I am a government worker. I belong to the Council for the Welfare of Children, working especially on the concerns of HIV and AIDS of affected and infected young people, okay? But right now, when you talk about HIV and AIDS in national conventions for young people, in congresses, in conferences, HIV is among the first issues that falls into the cracks of not being discussed. You hear about problems on street children, problems on child labor, prostitution, sexual abuse, child abuse, but nothing on HIV. And yet it's very, sorry, I'm getting emotional about it because the HIV infection rate is getting younger, okay? The integrated HIV behavioral surveillance, serological as in surveillance already showed that 15-year-old and even younger are getting infected. One of the questions of the IHBSS that included 15-year-old respondents, the question there was, when did you have your first sex? And it was 7 years old. So what was the indication? It could have been a forced or coerced sex. And now we talk of, I was talking to Vice Mayor Belmonte a while ago. I'm sorry she left because I have presented her a problem right now I have. For a week now, I have not, you know, medyo sleepless ako. I'm getting my hypertension really picked. Kasi I have several minors here in Quezon City who are minor sex workers who cannot get to be tested because they are minors. We need parental consent for them to be tested. But what does the law say? You need to have parental consent. How do you expect the minors to tell their parents, I'm a sex worker? When because of their poverty, they're into that. So now, when you talk of legislation, when you talk to legislators, we need numbers. I need not just the LGBTQ forces. Kasi talagang sila, forceful sila. But I need other kind of sectors of youth to come together. Let's put our act together, come together, and tell the legislators we need minors to be tested even without parental consent as long as there is a social worker to be able to stand in or a medical personnel to stand in. Right now, doctors can actually give the test, but they have that legal dilemma na baka makasuhan sila if they do give the test. So and when you talk to legislators, they only act if there are a lot of lobbyists. And so I need you guys. I need you.
Yeah, we heard it loud and clear, and we need all your support to make this happen. And your question, ma'am?
Okay, a blessed good afternoon to everybody here. And I was just wondering, how does it feel to know, this is for everybody on the panel, how does it feel to know that you are impacting so many lives of people through informing them about HIV and AIDS? Thank you.
Okay, so let's make this quick responses. Psychological effect when you first knew you were HIV positive and your impact as and your impact to other people. Yep.
Hello there. First thing, regarding the psychological impact, I guess what every person who has discovered that he is or she has HIV is that there's always amount of guilt involved. You probably blame someone else or you blame yourself for what has happened to you, and I think that's the first thing that you have to deal with. The moment you get through with that and you're allowed to forgive yourself, then things can move easier from then on. So there was a lot of guilt on my part. And I had to deal with being in denial for about 3 years. I think that's one of the reasons why I became an advocate right away, was so that I didn't have to deal with it personally. I could just put on a face in front of everybody and just be okay with it. But I've gone through that already. With regard to the second question about how I feel about my impact, you have to understand that I became an HIV, I was infected by HIV because probably one of the partners that I've had back in my reckless days was did not know that he had HIV as well. So the fact that you are all having this opportunity now to listen to this and to realize I have to protect myself, I have to be smart, I have to take the test, and to try and not make the same mistakes I did, it makes me feel good. That at least, if anything, there was a good side to what has happened to me.
Yep. Thank you.
Dun sa unang question, katulad ng sinabi ko kanina, yung pinakamabigat nga doon ay yung unfit to work, hindi ka na makakapagtrabaho. So yun, isa pa doon sa mga, sabi ko nga, mga karamihan ng mga babae namin, hindi naman naging honest yung mga partners. So may mga pagsisisi. Sa pangalawa, ang katotohanan, wala talaga kaming kaalaman sa tungkol diyan. Ang alam lang namin ang condom para sa family planning. Kung nandoon naman kami sa abroad at yun lang. Pero other than that, never kami may alam tungkol sa STI. Sana nung araw pa meron kaming mga ganyang kaalaman, may protection sana. So ngayon, paano kami yung impact sa community? Madalas sinasabi ng mga nakakapakinig na na-inspire sila doon sa pagbibigay namin ng istorya. Pero kami man ay nai-inspire din sa mga ibang tao. Diba? Katulad ninyo, nai-inspire din kami sa ibang tao. Nakakita ako ng mga taong hindi makadinig, pero nag-a-advocate. Bakit hindi kami? Anong meron ba sa amin sa HIV? Bakit hindi kami mag-forward sa advocacy? Kasi nga, yung hiya ang laging nangunguna. Lagi yung nakaakibat. Sabi ko nga doon sa mga kasamahan ko, kailan pa tayo lalabas sa kahon? Umahon na tayo. Lumabas na tayo. Walang dapat ikahiya. Hindi naman natin kailangang ipagyabang. Pero may buhay pa tayo. Yun lang.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your indulgence. Maybe kung merong mga burning questions, clarifications sa ating panelists, pwede nyo naman silang i-approach outside of this meeting, no? So palapakan natin yung 4 na speaker. Yep. Maraming salamat po.
Maraming salamat sa mga tanong. Thank you for all your questions. I think you will agree with me that this afternoon has been a very enlightening and inspiring fora. Just to give a quick closing remarks before we end the forum, may I call on Tessa De Vela, our IS Department Chairperson.
Thank you, Professor De Jos. Well, just a quick closing remarks was the key word. No? First, I think we want to thank, I speak for Miriam College, WAGI, and the Department of International Studies. We want to thank, and the U.S. Embassy. Can I speak for the U.S. Embassy? To all of our speakers today, I believe that we only have admiration for everything that you've shared with us today. We also want to say that we are very honored that the U.S. Embassy has chosen Miriam College as its partner for this forum. And of course, for WAGI to bridge this activity. And I believe, to my knowledge, this is the first time we've ever had a public forum on AIDS or to celebrate or to mark the World AIDS Day. And I hope it's not going to be the last. You know, I think it's not going to be the last. It'll probably be one of our yearly events in WAGI and in the department. We are a Catholic school, and we are a Catholic school who talks about HIV/AIDS. You know? Thank you to all of our international studies students who've arrived. I think we have taken up most of the space in this room. Of course, there are other Miriam College students here and some of our graduate schools and NGOs. That's wonderful. I would also like to take this opportunity to tell you that the ISOC, the International Studies Society, will be launching an LGBT week next week from December 8th to December 12th. Yeah. Again, you know, it's all part of the idea that we believe information is power, knowledge is power. This forum has given us a lot of knowledge and information. I hope we take it responsibly, you know, and carefully think about what was shared to us today, and well, live a happy life with it. And knowing is living. Thank you very much.